right.
Good morning.
So, thanks for starting this squirrely on time. As per church press regulations, we can't start squirrely at 10:30. So, and thank you for bearing with me being part of that, because even I didn't have my coffee this morning. But it's a pleasure to be here today, in the church of my childhood, teaching musicianship. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through a few basics, and let's start out with some vocal exercises. I'm going to have folks do this. I'm going to have folks stand up. All right, and we're going to go through some basic scales. If they're too low for you, because I know that we do have range of vocal, ranges out here. Go ahead and sing up the octave if you need to. So let's start, and let's go ahead and hum the note with me as we go up. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. All right, just a little bit of warm up, and then we'll go right into this. So if your folks can't see, please feel free to stand up. I'm gonna trade my earthly home for a better one, bright and fair. Christ left to prepare a mansion for his children in the air. I join him in that land where tears nor sorrows can be found, and I'll see mansion, robe and crown. Mansion, robe and a crown and glory. There love will always abound. Let me your throne surround. Lord, please preserve my mansion, robe and crown. Whether there is always rain, there is sunshine day and night. No cold nor rain will fall there, for the sun shines ever bright. I need no heavy garments, I'll just wrap my robe around. When I receive your mansion, robe and crown. Mansion, robe and a crown. Their love will always abound. Let me your throne surround. Lord, please preserve my mansion, robe and crown. My head is bowed and bloody now from the work I've tried to do. But one day I'll be rewarded with a crown so bright and new. On the first smile so bright that there'll be no cause for a frown. When I receive a mansion, road and ground, you know I want a mansion, road and a crown. Then love will always abound forever. Let me your throne surround. Lord, please preserve the mansion, road and crown. You know I want a mansion, road and a crown. Then love will always abound forever. Let me your throne surround. Lord, please preserve my mansion. Oh, please preserve my mansion. Lord, please preserve my mansion. Roll and crown. Please be seated. Whoops, wrong way. So, I would start with my introductions, but I'm pretty sure you all know who I am. So, great to be back. So we're going to cut right to the chase, in fact, here. And we're going to talk a little bit about what I'm here to do and what my goals are for the lesson today. And essentially, we're going to be working on musicianship here, and I'm kind of summed it up here. We're working on musicianship specifically in the context of song leading, So the mission for today is to advance the standard of ecclesiastical musicianship, featuring order, passion, technical skill that enables everyone to participate. Now, folks that know me, they know I like big words. I was gonna say, I had a $50 budget on those words, and I swear that 10 of them are $10, so I'm already $50 over. So I've not broken it down. What does that mean? So to advance the standards, so what that means is, we're getting better each try. At the end of the day, we're not here to demand perfection, and we're certainly not going to get that in 2 hours here. And I'm fully, I'm fully aware of that. But the fact that you're all here, that you're willing to improve your musicianship, it's fantastic. And frankly, it's something that I've wanted for the churches in Rhode Island for a very, very, very long time. Amen to that. I know that specifically because I grew up with the Church of Christ, I do have the bias. And I mean, we have a very strong history of musicianship here. Yes. And it's one that I take a lot of pride in. So to continue to grow that lineage, to continue to give future song leaders the tools they need to share that with others, I think that's a really fantastic part of our history, and that's one of the reasons I'm here. So the second part of it is of ecclesiastical musicianship, church music. All right. I was going to say, I can croon, I do Disney, I do theater, I do a whole bunch of things. You will not be hearing that from me today, unless you wait until after 1 o'clock, and maybe I might just come up with something. We'll see about that. Featuring order. This is one of my biggest things, and this is why I listed first. Going for order, we're looking at being able to lead so that other folks can follow you. One of the biggest faults that I see in song leading today is that, there are song leaders that don't lead in a way that folks can follow. And that is the ultimate goal of having a song leader, is to facilitate worship. So selfishly, yes, a little bit of this is in it for me. But at the end of the day, I'm picking songs, I'm creating arrangements, I'm guiding folks in a way that they're able to follow, and that we can all glorify the Lord together. So I consider order to be the utmost of things in terms of song leading. Passion. Being able to express your emotions musically of any kind. So being able to talk about the heights of joy, those mountaintop experiences, and being able to put that into a song, to be able to put that into performance. That's what we're talking about. We're also talking about being able to describe sorrow, the suffering, the pain, compassion, the mercy, being able to take those adjectives and put those into your performance and to have the congregation be able to feel those things as well. So that's passion. Technical skill. And that's the musicianship part of it, is being able to give you all the knowledge so that you can go and teach others. So, you know, the Church of Christ is a fantastic thing about, generally speaking, we all know what we're doing when we walk in on Sunday. You know, it's part of our order and it's part of our tradition. And what technical skill will enable you to do is it'll enable you to describe that to other people. So if you go out into somewhere that doesn't have a Church of Christ and they don't have demonstration, you can break that out into procedure and you can say, this is what we do, this is how we do it, this is how you get involved. And what you can do is by doing that, you enable someone to take that to the next level when they go in their worship. And then, so everyone can participate. Nobody gets left out. And that's part of all of those things, feature, order, passion, technical skill. The whole idea is that we're here so that everyone in the church is able to sing and everyone in the church is able to contribute to a corporate worship, right? So about what we're going to be looking at today, this is going to be a crash course. So Wilson asked me to look at the rudiments of music. So we're going to be talking about very basic stuff in musicianship, all of which could take about an hour piece. We'll get that in 10 minutes. So we're going to move really super fast, really super quick. And if I don't get invited back again, I know why. But that being said, if you are interested and you do want to get deeper dives on some of the individual topics that we covered today, talk to Wilson, because I mean, life for me, I would love to come back. So that being said, what are the topics for today? So I was going to say we're a little bit far back here, but we've split it into two halves today. We're probably going to deviate from time, seeing as we've got a little bit of a late start, and you know, lunch break will be kind of informal. But we're going to split up into one half and two half, second half. So first half, you know, introductions. We're just about all the way through, and then we're going to go into talking about rhythm, basics of conducting, scales and the solfege. You'll figure out what the solfege means. I will explain that. Shape note, and that'll conclude our first half. We'll take lunch, and then we'll go into the second half. So we'll talk about basics of harmony. So we'll talk about reading the notes themselves, musical expression, being able to inject your performances with the emotions that we're talking about. And then I have a project for you all. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to give you some time to work on your project, and then everyone will have an opportunity to demonstrate some of the things that they've learned in the course by doing a song they hear. And then after that, we'll do a final remark. And if we do have time, there is a song that I would love to show you if you all can log on to it. But we'll see about that at 10 minutes. All right. You all ready? One. Okay, so continuing on the introduction a little bit. So local maintenance. If I had the time today, I would have gone ahead and brought everyone a bottle of water and insisted that they keep it by their side. I don't have any formal musical training, so I've never been a professional chorister. I've never been, you know, I've never been in any, you know, professional productions or anything like that. I don't have musical, you know, a formal musical education. But, you know, I've been singing as an enthusiast for ages. I cut my teeth here at the Church Press, as many of you know. So, you know, being able to grab these, you know, since 8, start singing, figure it out at 13 that saying the soprano line did not work for me anymore. And then figuring out how to work my way through it. Like this, the church was a major part of my musicianship, so I've had a little bit of experience with it. And one of the things I'm figuring is that, well, as I'm getting older, I need to take care of my voice. So, you know, hydrate or dihydrate, folks. When you're really pushing it, especially if you're not working off, I was going to say, Tom's the right idea.
I brought my Windex. Didn't you see my Greek wedding?
Oh, no, I did not.
Windex cures everything.
Oh my God.
It's just flavored water.
Fair enough. So folks, hydrate or dehydrate, keep your cords well hydrated, especially if you're working in a position that you don't have application. So, I mean, when you're singing out and projecting, you should be aiming towards the back of the room so that even the folks in the back can hear you. That takes the toll. So when you walk into performance, you should be prepared. You should have hydrated already, and you should definitely have some sort of pouring sugar before singing comes up the works. Some folks might fight me on that, but I mean, for me, at least for my voice, I know that sugar really doesn't do it great before singing. Now that being said, after singing, that's a completely different story. I am a little bit of I've got a bit of a sweet tooth, so check me before, don't check me after. Vocal warm-ups. Start slow and work your way up. So, I'm trying to enforce that standard today. When you're going out there, take a little bit of time, do a few scales, definitely hurt. Breath support, diaphragmatic breathing. All right, so what I want folks to do, I want you to take your hands, I want you to interlace them, and I want you to put them just below your chest on your stomach. And essentially what you should be doing is you should be breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth, and what you should feel is you should feel your stomach rise. All right, so go ahead and breathe with me. Breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. So diaphragmatic breathing is the most stable breath support that you're going to have as a vocal musician. So practicing that will be crucial because what that will enable you to do, that will enable you to hold notes longer. And with proper breath support, you can also hit higher notes as well. So something to take home, and work on. And then of course, posture, sit or stand straight. So of course, I had you all stand up for the first song, and that's going to be important for being able to really project out there. All right, so that will cover it for the introductory stuff. Now let's go ahead and get into the real meat of things. So we're going to talk about rhythm, time signatures, and notation. All right. So why are we looking at rhythm, time signatures, and notation? So first of all, it's foundational to music. Everything you see on the page is rhythm. I was going to say, Mr. Ray, you should know all about this. You know exactly all about this more than I could ever speak to. So for folks that don't know, Mr. Ray was struggling. So in terms of that, because I'm telling you, man, those audits really, really kill me. I'm just really honest with you there. But it is the key to making sure that we're all moving together in the way that folks expect to be moved. In terms of moving along with music, it's a gateway to learn free music and fosters creativity with advanced techniques. So learning swing beats and finding ways to move the emphasis in the song without changing the notation. It's a great opportunity to kind of stretch your creativity. And so let's go ahead and look up here. So we've got a few different examples. So you've got the basics of the notes and you've got the rests. So we've got the whole notes at the top, and two of those make two half notes make a whole, two quarter notes make a whole. Sorry, two quarter notes make a half note, two eighth notes make a quarter note, and so on and so forth. And essentially, what that's getting us to do is try to figure out how the song moves together. And on the opposite side, you have the rests. So the rests are, of course, places in the music where you do not sing. There is dead silence. And we'll talk about how rests can be used expressively later on. But the same hierarchy applies. You've got the whole note up here. Two halves make a whole. Two quarters make a half. Two eighths make a quarter, and so on and so forth. So that's what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at some examples as we go on. So if I'm going to have you grab a songbook and take a look at 288, Ferris Lord Jesus. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna sing through a verse of this. And I want folks to either clap or tap along. And I want you to pay attention to the note shapes and see if you can see see how the note shapes coincide with the clap. So we're going to try and figure out, we're going to try and see if we can see how that changes as we go through the song. And yeah, let's go ahead and go for it. So, what did you notice as you were listening to the song and singing the song, and as you were hearing the claps coincide with that? Did anyone pick up on it?
Playing 4/4 notes to beat, to a measure.
There we go. That is very, very important. So if you folks look at the staff, Mr. Ray made a fantastic point. There are 4/4 notes in each 4/4 notes, or that's 4 beats in each measure. So folks wondering what a measure is, if you look at the sheet music, you'll see that the salves are divided vertically into proportions, and Mr. Ray hit it right on the head. It's 4/4 notes or 4 beats. So starting at the first line, there rests Lord. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 staff. Oh, sorry, not staff. Measure mark. Jesus, measure mark. Ruler of all, measure mark. Nature. And that's going to be super important because that's going to go into some of the conducting and some of the motioning that we're going to be doing later. So that's a really, really good point. Anything else anyone else noticed? All right, so one of the questions that folks might be thinking is, how did Ray know, aside from observation, that there were 4 beats per measure and that each of the quarter notes was going to equal 1 beat? So we're going to talk about that in time signature. We're going to go ahead and recap that right here. So the time signature, if you look at the very first part of the sheet music, in the very beginning, you'll see that there are, there are 2 numbers, one on top of each other, 4, 4 in this case. So 4, 4 means exactly what Mr. Ray said. It'll be 4. So the top one will tell us how many beats there are in a measure. So in this case, there will be 4 beats in a measure. There rests Lord, and then next measure, Jesus. And then that lower 4 will tell you which note will get beat. So if we go, we're going to flash back a little bit to here. And so we look up here, look at the second note in the music in est. So fair est, you'll notice it looks very similar to this. Why it's not circular, we're going to get into that very shortly. But it's filled in and it has a little tail. And that's going to be a quarter. So as we're going through the song, I was hoping that you'd notice that when we hit those notes, they were 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 with every single clap that we're going through. And that's going to be the foundation of rhythm there. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to divide the room about in half. We're going to kind of work our way through the rhythm, kind of work on maintaining the rhythm. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back and forth and slowly divide up the rhythm more and more. So I'm going to have this half of the room clap with me at this fairly slow rate. So it'll be going. This half. And that's exactly what it's gonna be like. So those are gonna be your differentiation. We're gonna kind of break down, you know, into slower and faster beats. In terms of being able to tap that out, I mean, that's one of the ways I learn new songs out of the book, is I'll be able to look at that and say, well, looking at a 4/4, quarter note will get the beat, and I can do something like, let's see here. So I'll actually go into the songbook and I'll say, look at 202, which is joyful, joyful, we adore thee, and I'll just tap 2, 3, 4, and look at the note, and I can see that almost all of them are quarter notes, minus those pesky halves that Mr. Ray and I have had words about, are dotted rather. So joyful, joyful, we adore thee, God of glory, Lord of love, and then so on and so forth. So being able to identify what the rhythm is going to look like through time signature and beat that out, that'll help you to keep your place in the music. As a song leader, it's essential for instructing others to keep their place in the music. And it'll help you learn new music too. So, of course, the goal, of course, learning about rhythm, basic time signature, is super, super fast. You know, it's for everyone to know exactly where they need to be in the music at any given time. And what that leads to, conducting and song leading. So, why learn conducting? Because I mean, there are a lot of folks in church press that don't do the conducting. And when I speak about that, I mean specifically the hand motions. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. They don't really do that. And to be fair, I'm a little bit of a hack at this, because if this looks very, very familiar, I learned this from Keith Lancaster. So Keith Lancaster made a stop here in Warwick. I want to say probably has to be about 9 or 10 years ago now. And it was one of my favorite experiences, because he had a very, very similar goal of increasing musicianship. And conducting was one of the ways that he did it. So conducting is really for the benefit of folks who are not going to be reading the book, the notation book. So for folks that are going to be singing by ear, listening out, being able to guide them and to put as much information into your hand motions and into what you tell them as possible, so conducting will be essential. It guides folks that can't follow the notes and provides people with information that isn't necessarily in the notes. So when you want to improvise, when you want to add holdouts, when you want to add rests, when you want to do all that kind of stuff, it's a great way for improvisation. And that's one of the things that I've taken the most joy in as a song leader, is being able to guide congregations in singing things in ways that they maybe have not sung before. So old standbys that they have heard year after year after year after year after year after year after year. Are you tired of this? That's what I'm trying to avoid. And conducting, I think, has been really great in helping step away from this repetition. So, rules to conducting. Know your congregation. Do they want to follow you? If they don't want to follow you, you've got bigger issues that can solve. But in some ways, that's a good thing. In some ways, it's it has its pros and cons, is what I mean to say. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, my home congregation at South County, and one of the fantastic things, and this occurred completely naturally, is the congregation at South County. They have a way of staying on my every action. I can put in a holdout for as long as I want. I could hold a rest as long as I want. I can do just about anything I want, and they will be right on top of it. What I cannot do is I cannot improvise. If I want to sing a leader part separate from what the rest of the congregation wants to sing, I can't do it, because they will hang on me and expect me to provide that lift. Now, that being said, I've had the pleasure and privilege of song leading here at Warwick, and it's the opposite. So that being said, the folks at Warwick it's hard to get them to fall into tempo. It's hard to get them to fall into somewhere else. You kind of have to move them along a little bit. But the glory in that is that I can add in as much improvisation as I want. And that is amazing. Like, look, you all laugh. But I mean, like, it's not better or worse, really. It's different. So, I mean, like, people to.
We have 3 congregations plus here that are mixing as we're going.
We're learning together,
What's that?
learning together.
Yeah. So
You even mentioned it, so your congregation,
Oh, absolutely.
not everything's by the book, because most people can't read notes. We just go by what we know, like me,
and then add in tradition, which is, we've always done it this way.
Right.
And the older you get, Mark, you'll see, it really sticks, like I can't change it now. I've sung it that way for 50 years,
Oh, exactly. I was gonna say, see, folks are already getting exactly what I'm going through with. So, I mean, it's easy to say, I'm the song leader, go about this my way. The push doesn't work, folks. So the best way to do it is to adapt to your congregation. And I mean, if you want to throw in flourishes, if you want to throw in little things that make it special, you certainly can. I just wouldn't walk in with the expectation that you're going to accomplish it, especially not in the first go. But like I said, I didn't give South County formal training. I'm going to show you exactly what my conduction style is and what I do and what my signals are, some of which you might have noticed already. But I never sat down and had a formal conversation with, this means close, all right, or this is meaning the beat, or this is how I want you to help things to get louder. I didn't really do that. Some of that was just in looking at my body language and picking signals that were easy to interpret. And part of it was reverse osmosis. They got tired of me like looking a fool, like waving my arms around, and decided they wanted to comply. I had pity on me. If you're lucky, you'll end up with a congregation that has pity on you too. But that being said, that's just through their experience with me as a song leader, and that's what conducting will do. It'll give them as much information as possible. And a very, very key point, like I mentioned before, is that conduction should not detract from the experience. So, like I was being dead serious in the understanding that add the flourishes, be adventurous. Don't be upset if the flourishes don't always come through the right way. At the end of the day, you're in service to your congregation, and their experience is what should be mattering the most. We're here to facilitate worship to the Lord in the corporate setting. So being able to do that means maybe having to forego getting the absolute peak performance out of your congregation. So basic conducting. Let's go ahead and turn to 47, holy, holy, holy. So we're going to take it super, super simple. So I'm going to step away from my standard style of conducting, and we're going to go into just kind of beating time. So beating time, where I see this the most is you actually see this in the Sacred Heart community. So the Sacred Heart community, they have a songbook that dates back from about the 1750s and has been, occasionally revised, but it's really fantastic classical hymns with a specific structure. And it's such a bit of a cultural phenomenon that you don't have to, the Sacred Heart groups that exist, they don't just exist for the purpose, they're not all Christians. They are preserving history. And I mean, of course, we're in a church setting, and that's not what we'd be going there for. But they do have the procedure for it. And they do have a way of instructing. Yes, exactly. So folks who were looking at Tom, he was showing his hands moving up and down, just straight up and down. Like this is beating time. And simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the information you get from that top of the from the top part of the time signature. So getting that 4 beats in a, so looking at holy, 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 that's 4 beats in a measure. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you go to, for example, I don't know the song, but let's go to what is finished. It is finished. You know? So that's 369. And if we look at the time signature over there, that'll be in 3/4. So beating at the time will look slightly different. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then if you want to get super interesting about this, we can look at 860, I want to say. $859. All right, so maybe I don't still got it. In any case, 859. So I was close. That is in 6/8. So there's no reasonable way to beat a whole 6 beats, but a lot of folks, what they'll do is they'll beat 6/8 in 1/2 time, because that's about as many. That's about where you need to put the indications for folks to be able to follow. So, what a song of delight and that city so bright. 1, 2, and 1 and 2, and that's what that'll look like for there. So beating time, like that's entry level. That's where you start being able to establish that rhythm and have the congregation follow you. So let's look at holy, holy, holy 47. And actually, since I'm pitching high today, I am actually going to use what this is intended for. We'll talk about that as well. One, 2, 3, and holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, early in the morning, our song shall rise to thee. Holy, 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 merciful and mighty, God in 3 persons, blessed Trinity. I'm actually going to try and have folks beat time with me. So I want you, if you can, to move your hands in the same way, and just so that you get accustomed to the idea of multitasking. Because I'll tell you this, doing all of this all at once, it was very difficult. I still lose time all the time, especially when I go from one portion to another. So, you know, I think it's a great idea to have folks practice 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so we'll go ahead into the second verse here after 4 beats intro. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Holy, 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 all the saints adore thee, casting down their golden crowns around the crystal sea. Cherubim and seraphim falling down before him, who was stand art and evermore shall be. Wonderful. Now, the way that I beat out time is a little bit different. So this is more the traditional way. So if you watch folks on TV, especially a band leader, aside from their own flourishes that they have established with their band, they'll do exactly. So if you look at the array, how he's moving his hands. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I imagine it like a sailboat. So it'll always be in a triangular motion. So all the way down the mast. Thank you. I was gonna say I'm a better singer than I am. So so all the way down the mast, all the way to the left, all the way to the right, and then all the way back up the side of the sail. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat as many times as needed for. So that being said, let's go ahead and go through verse 3, and we'll see if we can follow along, and we'll see how many folks get strung up in the mast. So, and we'll do 4 beats of intro again. 1, 2, 3, and holy, 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 oh, the darkness hiding, though be I a sinful man, thy glory may see. Holy, 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 there is none beside thee, perfect in power, in love and purity. Basic beating of time, so that's excellent, great work, everybody. So now we're going to talk about kind of advanced conducting. So this deviates from beating out of time, and the folks that have seen me flail my arms know exactly what that looks like. So there is no hard and fast rule for advanced conducting with other intents. It varies from song leader to song leader. Some folks just steal stuff from other song leaders. This whole situation with repeat, I stole from Keith Lancaster, and a whole lot of folks do. So it's really about what works best for you and your congregation, and what will convey the most information the most naturally, without folks having to think about it. So in terms of what information you can deliver with conducting, you can deliver information such as pitching, and that's important for folks, especially if you're leading a new song and you don't know where folks are going. So being able to go, high or to go low. So that's what I'm doing when I'm cutting things like that. So I'm like, be prepared to move up, be prepared to move down. Especially when I'm doing a new song like Mansion Over the Ground. In terms of smoothness, am I flowing or am I moving quickly and brusquely? You can see that in my delivery. Volume, crescendos, decrescendos, fading when you want to close things off really smoothly and quietly, rests and repeats. So sometimes adding a rest to break things up, or adding repeats because you want to emphasize the chorus of the song. So I've gone ahead and, I know this is really, really small, but I'll go ahead and kind of demonstrate again. So pitching, emphasis. So I think a lot about majesty when I really want folks to hammer a note. So I'll actually just go ahead and take my fist and hammer out like that. So fist pump. Smoothness, you're seeing me, I've sharpened more smooth more motions. Volume. Hang on a second. I need both hands for this. So volume. When my hands are out all the way wide versus when they're narrow, very close in towards my center. Fading and rest. Open hands to close fists out in this kind of cross motion. Starting slowly from wide and then moving to narrow and then wide back again. So it's a little bit different. And holding rests out, just continuing to hold and wait. And then repeats. If I do a singular repeat, I will usually do this motion, which is the one that I stole from Key Lancaster, so repeat, go around, you know. And if I need to repeat multiple times, I'll give them the number of repeats I want to give, count them down once, then as we go through twice, then as we go the third time, then close. The other thing that I don't mention here that I forgot to mention is that sometimes the best way, I'll tell you the best thing that I figured out about song leading here, about communicating to your congregations, just tell them already. What do you mean? I mean, you know, if you want to give your folks like some complicated things, especially, I'll be very, you know, between both Warwick and South County, I've had the luxury of folks doing my AV for me. And so being able, especially if I didn't build those repeats into the slides, because South County is now completely bookless in terms of their standard day-to-day singings, being able to signal to my AV folk over there, hey, can you run this back one more time? Really, really useful. And I feel that, you know, if we do move towards that, it'll be great for the AV folks, but it'll be great for your congregation to know exactly where you're at. So sometimes just telling them, hey, so we're going to be doing 881. We're going to do a slow start, and we're going to speed up into the first chorus, going back into the second, and we're going to repeat the chorus twice at the end. So sometimes that's all it takes, and you reinforce that with your conducting, but sometimes it's just easier to tell them. We're going into 881. So, all right, 881, Mansion over the Hilltop. So we're going to, you know, like I said before, we're going to take it slow through the first verse, and then we're going to pick up tempo in the chorus. We're going to repeat the chorus twice at the second verse, right? And for folks who are looking at the at this song and wondering why are there less beats in the first measure, so there are not a full 4 beats in the first measure for I'm Sanctus, and then there's the measure line. That's because there is a lead-in. So what they'll do is they'll break the measure at the first line, and they'll take on the remainder of that. They'll tack on the remainder of that at the last. So if you look at the last measure, you see 2 beats and a. Do you see 2.5 beats? That's that 8th note there, and you're wondering, wait, that's not complete. What that is that's just tacked on at the end, and that's for smoothness, and that's so that you can transition gracefully from the beginning into the end. I will also say, on the note of closing up about rhythm, holding notes out, it's important for a congregation, because if there's one thing that congregations are all just about universally terrible about for rhythm, it's holding a rest not long enough or holding a note not long enough. And the reason that is important, we'll get into this in harmony, is because even if the main line is not moving, the other harmonies might be. So being able to give the other folks who are singing the other parts the opportunity to move in their music, you know, that's going to be great that's going to be great for them, and it's going to enhance some of the singing there. So again, 881, I hope you guys are good at memory, because I'm not going to repeat what I said, you know, because I don't even know if I remember what I said. So that being said, 4 beats of intro. 1, 2, or well, I guess we're going in on the third, so 2 beats of intro then. So 1, 2, I'm satisfied with just a cottage below, a little silver and a little gold, but in that city where ransom will shine, I want a gold one, that silver line. I got a mansion just over the hilltop, in that bright land where we'll never grow old. And someday yonder, we'll never more wander, but walk the streets that are pure as gold. little lonely. I'm not discouraged. I'm heaven bound. I'm just a pilgrim in search of a city. I got a mansion, a rope and a crown. I got a mansion just over the hilltop, in that bright land where we'll never grow old. And someday yonder we'll never more wander, but walk the streets that are pure as gold. I got a mansion just over the hilltop, in that bright land where we'll never grow old. And someday yonder we'll never more wander, but walk the streets that are pure as gold. I was gonna say, I will walk in and do that. All right, so final remark about conducting. If you implement it quietly, expect results slowly, and that's okay. That is perfectly okay. Find a way that works for you and your congregation to get the best out of what you're trying to provide. Right. So we're about conducting. So scales and the solfege. Why is it important to learn scales and the unnecessarily French word for music?
I'm part French, you know. so- My mother was the French.
I was gonna say, so maybe I might have.
They have a lot of words that are unnecessary. They're good at that.
Mark,
Yes,
I wanted to ask a question.
please.
Yes, I don't know if because it's high, I start sometime or that's why I wanted to ask. Sometimes when I start a song, right? When they start a song and I kind of start and get to a part when I sing it, like I'm kind of stuck right there. I can't for past that part, like because for me, I'm an actual singer. Also, and then
Are you talking about your vocal range?
yeah, and then I'll be like, hey, then like kind of skipping to another one, which is I'm not finding like the tune that I started with, then I have to like kind of go into another tune before going back. So I kind of get stuck. So I don't know is how I start it or
It's so usually what that is believe it or not, that is also probably a little bit of a function of the song there. Some of it, of course, is your particular vocal range, but a song leader should be aiming to hit a pitch that is appropriate for everyone. That being said, we can actually divert a little bit. So let's go back to 881, and I'm going to draw your attention to the top left hand of the page, right underneath the page number or song number. Can someone read that out for me? The two letters right underneath the 881. Just shout it out, please.
C-E.
Correct. Does anyone have an idea of what that might potentially be?
Complimentary pitches.
So particular to the songs of faith and praise, and this is one of the reasons I think it's a great resource for song leaders, is that gives you the key that it's in and the starting pitch. So the first letter will be the key that it's in, so it's in the key of C. So if you look at the staff, you'll see that there are no sharps or flats directly next to the staff for the time signature. So it's in the key of C. And then that E is that starting pitch. So, what folks will do, especially if you have a very musically attuned congregation, is they'll give you the key and they'll give you the do, mi, so. And this is where we're getting the solfege here. So they'll give you the C, hang on, and they'll give you do, mi, so, or maybe they might not sing the syllables, but and so that's where they start. And or some, especially with folks, with a congregation that's not particularly musically inclined, they'll just go ahead and go straight to the starting note, so. I'm satisfied with, like that. Now, the trick around around pitching and pitch pipe, this is written for performance. This is written for assuming that you have your alto, your sopranos, your altos, your tenors, your bass perfectly in a row. They all know what parts they're singing, and they all have immaculate range. Thank you. I appreciate the support, folks. Now, that being said, we all know that's not true. So a lot of folks, especially with the Church of the Christ, they know that the average vocal range actually sits about 2 semitones below. So if you have a pitch pipe and you go 2 semitones below, so we're going to go from C, and so we're going to start with the key of C and go a step back, B flat. And this goes into a little bit more music theory, but essentially, if you just go ahead and swing 2 holes lower on your pitch pipe, you will get to a generally appropriate pitch. So, and I'll sing that down the octave. I'm satisfied with just a cottage below, a little silver and a little gold. So yeah, that's what that's going to look like. So I mean, honestly, like if folks are having trouble, like, and the thing is, honestly, I need to be better about carrying this with me and using this and pitching appropriately, because I've gotten a little bit proud of my in my old age, and
So you have perfect pitch.
part of me dreams and fantasizes of that one day, but that's just not happening. That's not happening, folks. So carry this around. It'll save your congregation. It'll keep them from hating you, because you want to save that, and when you pitch the new songs at them, then they'll really hate you. But I mean, in terms of keeping them from hating you normally, carry pitch pipe is your best defense, I promise. So I hope that answers your question. And the thing is, what that eventually leads to is a discussion on harmony. So we're going to talk about basic harmony, and unfortunately, I did plan for this to be a men-only event, so I didn't factor in alto harmony. Alto and tenor harmony are kind of hard, but at some point, if we do decide we want to extend this section, then we can look at the other harmonies and work on those together. So, all right. So scales and solfege, and then after this, we'll go ahead and break for lunch. So why is it important to learn scales and solfege? It's because it's fundamental to music. Tonal differences, the differences in pitch are what makes music fun and fantastic. And oh boy, it really just gets me going, folks. Western music is founded on the pitch differences. So the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, they are founded on the differences between the notes, because there are other scales in which that is not necessarily the case. Western music just happens to favor that specific scale. So it's another feature that keeps everyone together, because if you know what the scale sounds like, you can approximate where all your sounds ought to be. And then, as I mentioned before, it's a gateway to harmonization, foreshadowing. So that being said, we will be talking about that after lunch as well. So I mean, we've done this before, and we'll just go through it again. We'll start with a C. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Now, that being said, I'm going to be a little bit gratuitous here. I've always dreamed of being a music teacher, and I've always dreamed of being able to sing do and here you know, with everybody involved here. So, you know, if you all wouldn't mind indulging.
Oh,
just a second.
Sure.
1, 2, 3, 4, 2. A deer, a female deer, bray a drop of golden sun. Me a name I call myself, along I'm going to run. So a needle pulling thread, a note to follow so. Tea, I drink with jam and bread, and that will bring us back to dough. Thank you for fulfilling a lifelong dream of mine. This needs are so little. So, like I said, don't really Paso Latino. We've all heard it. We've all had that song stuck in our head. And the magic is the spaces between them. The fact that we all know what the difference is between a do and a re and a mi and a fa and so on, Milano to do. That is the magic of it. Now, the key is being able to take that and to identify a do, mi, so, and being able to find the gaps between them, even if you're not moving sequentially. And that's what we're going to be looking at harmonization. Now, so that being said, a skilled musician should be able to sing solfege in any given key if their vocal range. And this will be important later. So, you know, I didn't actually get to answering what the solfege is. The solfege is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That is the solfege. So, and that comes from the sol, fa, solfege, so et cetera, and so forth. Again, unnecessarily French. But that being said, that is going to be the foundation of what we learn here. And the reason is, fun fact, all the books that the churches of Christ traditionally use are configured for the solfege. They are configured to be able to be sung in whatever key you want, and to be frank, with limited vocal training. So that being said, that's one of the reasons I like. If you ever have the pleasure sitting down with me at dinner, and you know, I'll just be honest with you, I do occasionally enjoy you know, a beer or something of the sort. I'll just be honest with you, you're probably going to get me halfway through before I start breaking out into how wonderful the shape build system is. That is, what's that?
I was just going to mention this. You just mentioned that for the first time, so yes.
Yes, we are going to talk about that. I promise you we're going to talk about that. So that's what we're going to get into. And I can't wait to share that all with you as we go through. So we're going to go through an exercise that, you know, I'm looking at the exercise and I think it's actually, you're not going to get as much value out of it as I originally planned. So I think what I want to do is it's going to be different from what you see on the screen later. I want folks to pick out their favorite hymn. So anyone, go ahead if they know what it is. Even just shout it out. I mean, I've been working this book so long. I think it is. What's that?
I'll fly away.
851. So 851. I was gonna say, you know, I've been in the PowerPoints too long when I start forgetting page numbers.
I'm gonna write to the publisher, ask them to make a new version and skip all the pages over about 3 numbers, just so I can screw you up.
You know, Alton Howard would be turning in his grave if you heard me say that. I'm just telling you right now. All right. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to demo this by pitching this in concert key, if you will, in the key as written, and then we're going to hear Miss Winifred strain to get to the top, unfortunately, and then we're going to pitch it in something appropriate. We're going to demonstrate what being able to sing in any key really means. So let's see. That is an A flat.
51.
Thank you.
Starting up. Some glad morning when this life is over. Fly away to a home on a celestial shore. Fly away, I'll fly. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. I'll fly away. There we go. All right, now let's go ahead and pitch that down. And so we're going to pitch that down 2 semitones. So that'll be to G flat there. Verse 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. When the shadows of this life have grown, I'll fly away, like a bird from prison bars has flown. I'll fly away, I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. I'll fly away, I'll fly. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. I'll fly away. That's the difference, folks. Being able to. Yes.
Were you swinging that?
Yes, I was swinging the D. So
Yes, you were. That's how it, yeah.
I was going to say, add a little bit of that Southern gospel influence there.
Yeah, because you're swinging it.
I mean, it's not a topic that I was prepared to cover today, but I mean, that's the kind of thing that I want to show folks that they can do with anything, really. If they can find a song that they can add a little bit of a swing beat to,
Right.
I mean, they can find ways to express whatever emotion they want to get through in a song. And I think that's fantastic.
Mark,
Yes,
before you go any further, can you back up like 3 screens where you have the picture of the soul page on there?
sure thing.
Only because this was something that I did not catch when I was learning how to sing the chorus. But where you blow a pitch, for instance, what was the song that we had was 81.
Yep. Oh, 881.
Okay, so the difference there was what? That was it was a C, but then you did the E. So C was our do.
C is our do.
C was our do.
Correct.
So when you walked it up to E, what we're really doing then is we're going from do, re, mi. So we're going from do to mi with that scale. And that, this is something that would open my head for a year and a half in chorus. I did not understand that concept. So if anybody else is listening to the same thing.
No, that is a beautiful point, Tom, and you're playing right into my next slide, actually. So you are right on the ball there, because I'm about to blow your mind even more. The things about
It doesn't take much. You don't need dynamite.
well, like me, because the thing that excites me about shape note is you don't need to know the exact notation. You don't need to know that that do is a C per se. You all you need to know is you need to find the do, and you need to, and that establishes where you are. So from Mansion over a Hilltop, we know what the C is. So the C is here, or hang on. And then we establish our do, mi, so, And the reason that we established that, if we look back at 881, look at the shape of the notes now. So if you look at, so in particularly to praise, songs of faith and praise, it is a 4-line system. Your first note will always be your soprano line. Your second note on that staff in vertical order will always be your alto line. Your third note will always be your tenor, and your
Are
fourth
you
note.
going up or down? Sorry.
We're going down. Sorry. So,
That's okay.
so your first note. So looking at that diamond shaped one on the first of Mansion Over Hilltop, that's your soprano line, and you just always take the first note and that sequence. The second will always be your alto line. That's that triangle, that equilateral triangle. The third one will always be going onto the bass clef. That will always be your tenor line. And going down further on the last vertical order, the fourth will always be your bass. And notice it's a triangle, a diamond, and a circle. And just about every major key song, you will always have harmonies broken up by those. Triangle, diamond, and circle. And what do they equate to? So. And that's why when you have song leaders in a musically inclined congregation, they'll just go ahead and give you the 3 notes, the do, mi, and solfege, because almost all of their songs start that way. So, you know, so that's the do, and that corresponds to your alto and your tenor in this particular song. Sorry, your alto and your bass rather. And that corresponds to your leads, your sopranos. So, and that corresponds to your tenors. In just about every song we start with, those will be 3 parts of the solfege note.
So always the first, the third, and the fifth.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. Particularly when it comes to church music. When it comes to major key church music, that is essentially all you need to know. And that's one of the reasons that shape note is so versatile, is because you don't need to know that it's C or an F or an E flat. You just need to know where's my do. I figure out everything else in comparison to that, and you just follow the music that way. So that being said, let's see.
Is that because the first, the third, and the fifth build the chord?
Yes, that is excellent. And that goes into advanced music theory. It's because it builds the major chord. So it's one of the foundational bits of the music. So that being said, I kind of want to demonstrate this again. Folks, pick out your favorite song in the hymnal, turn to it, and I want you to tell me where the do is. So that equilateral triangle, and I want to be sure that you know there are 2 triangles there. There's the equilateral, with the 2 slanty sides, and then there's a right angle triangle. We're looking for the equilateral like you see on the screen there. So folks, take some time, go ahead and look through. All right, so when folks have it, just go ahead and shout it out.
Alpha away is in the first measure, second note. Correctly, that is. I don't read music, so I gotta work on it.
I was gonna say, even if you can't, just
That's an A.
that's an A. All right, fair enough. So that's an A. So that's the second space up from the staff. Folks, anyone else? I want to get a whole bunch of different examples. Ms. Paul.
Gentle Shepherd. First bar, it's underneath a diamond, but it's. You want to know where it is on the.
Let's see. Let me see if I can help you. So I have a feeling I know what's going on. So Gentle Shepherd. Yeah, so that's on the first line from the bottom,
On the line.
on the line. Yep, as opposed to the space. Yep, that's neat, perfect. I was gonna say, anyone else want to go ahead and pitch one? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pitch mine, and so mine is Beautiful Isle of Somewhere. And actually, that's a bad example, so because it's actually also starting with A. So let me go ahead and swing on over to How Beautiful Heaven Must Be. That's on the second line. So the whole point of shape note is the movable dough, is that you establish where that is, and then you can create your soulfish from anywhere. So that means that you don't really rely on what's written. You rely on what's written to provide you with the intervals. But you can rely on your song leader and knowing the soulfish to be able to generate those songs based on what those intervals look like in your songbook, as opposed to what the actual true name of the note is. And that's why it's really cool that when you have folks with, when you have different congregations and you need to pitch things higher or lower, it comes naturally. It works on that principle. So that is what we're going to be looking at when we come back from lunch. So what we're going to do is, I think we're going to skip the project. We're going to go straight into harmonization, and then we'll wrap up really quickly. But before we do, I have folks. I have a favor to ask folks. Can we do Do Dear again? Just one more time, please.
You see a chance, take it.
Do a deer, a female deer, ray, a drop of golden sun. Me a name I call myself, a long, long way to run. So a needle pulling thread, love, I know to follow, so a drink with jam and bread, and that'll bring us back to